Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to our bi-weekly training session. So time has passed really quickly, don't you think? Because it was 2 weeks ago that we had this monumental product launch, okay, soft launch for Stronghold. And it's record-breaking, all right, on many levels, because it's the first time that we have everything sold out for pickup even before the talk begins. Right, so ever since then, that 5 days was intense, and everyone was trying to snatch for stocks. And today, we can say that we have completely depleted whatever allocation that is for the Singapore market. All right, so thank you all for your participation. Right, and we hope that you will experience the breakthrough that you're looking for with Stronghold. So, you know, in celebration of this wonderful soft launch, okay, we have a lucky draw, okay, for everyone who are a subscriber, right? It does not matter what configuration you are on, and as long as you're a subscriber and you purchase Stronghold, okay, then you will have a chance to be in the draw and in the running of getting 3 exclusive products that is flown all the way from the US that's not for sale, okay, which is the Unimate Fierce, Unimate Apple Spice, and Mixed Berry Balance, right? So even I don't have the chance to try these flavors, so lucky you. All right, so don't go anywhere. We will announce and we'll do a digital draw at the end of today's session, so please don't go anywhere. All right, so without further ado, I want to give everyone a bit of context what I'm going to talk about today. So right after the topic of Stronghold, it has opened my mind completely to another dimension, insulin resistance. Okay, well, sounds fancy, right? But in some ways true, because I think the traditional mindset about insulin resistance has been limited to just sugar and insulin in the blood, and we have never really gone beyond that. And it was eye-opening that we realized, oh, actually muscle plays a role when it comes to sugar and insulin regulation. And okay, so how does other organs fit into the picture? Because if we were to only look at what is happening in the blood, it does not tell us the complete story, right? That's one. And number two, I think we also want to have a bit of perspective, because I think if we think that muscle is very good, then there comes another problem. People may think that, oh, since muscle is so important, then does that mean that I just have to take or buck up my muscle, that's all? So feel great is like less important. So people may come to this conclusion and they may think that, okay, so it looks like muscle health is the only way that, and it seems to be the most important thing, since you'll say it's like so incredible, right? So where do we draw the line? Okay, and what is the clear positioning that we should have about both of these products? And how do they tell us a better story, okay, and a clearer picture about how metabolic health should be? Okay, so what is the public view about insulin resistance right now? I'm sure if you go on Google, if you were to find any images that's gonna give you a description about insulin resistance, this is gonna appear, right? In fact, this is what I found. One of the first few images that describes insulin resistance to you. So for the record, it's not scientifically wrong, okay, because it is true that you see the image of a pancreas, you know, there's insulin, cell disease, it goes into fat, you know, tired, and you know, the whole cycle comes along. So while this is not correct, It's not the most updated, right? In fact, it's a bit outdated because it does not include other crucial organs such as the muscle, right? The fat and liver, because these are three main glucose deposit that will happen post-meal. Okay, so they don't talk about that at all, right? So if we were to look at this and rely on what we once knew, we would be missing a big part about how insulin resistance would happen. So now, what is really going on? Before we go into that, we need to understand what is the role of bloodstream. So what is the role of a blood vessel? So many things can come into your mind. It could be, oh, it's a carrier of oxygen. Okay, without blood, you will die. Okay, and that's it, right? People don't really think beyond. But bloodstream and our blood vessel is like a container, right? It holds all kinds of substrates in our body. Okay, it could be glucose, it could be oxygen, it could be waste products, toxins, or whatever. Okay, so your bloodstream is the main carrier of everything that makes us alive. That sustains us. Okay, and this includes, okay, sugar from food. Okay, sugar from food has to go through the bloodstream. There's no way they can bypass the bloodstream and go directly to a muscle, for example, right? And of course, you know, all hormones will go through your bloodstream to circulate all around your body. And the most important thing is that it influences the metabolic environment in your body. Okay, whatever hormone that's inside, okay, is going to dictate how your body should respond. For example, if is there going to be high cortisol, it's going to be high progesterone, it's going to be high testosterone. Okay, whatever hormone that is carried in your blood is going to determine what your body is going to do, right? And most importantly, it's the main distributor hub of sugar into three main organs in our body, such as the fat, which is 5 to 10%, liver is 10 to 20%, and then muscle is the majority, 70%. So typically after a meal, our sugar will be distributed to these three main organs. Yeah, of course, it will still go through your brain, your kidney and all that, but those are of a smaller percentage. But these three organs are the main ones that's gonna hold, okay, most of your glucose load post-meal. Okay, so with this understanding, we will think that, okay, since muscle takes 70 to 80%, all right, so does that mean that the fat and the liver is not important? Right? Okay, so since muscle is 70 to 80%, does that mean that muscle health is enough? So let's look more into the bloodstream. Okay, so if our blood were to have a lot of insulin and a lot of sugar, you guess what's going to happen, right? Rather than our body being able to logically take in all this sugar and insulin, right? In fact, there's going to be a rebound effect. In an act of self-preservation, because there's too much sugar happening in your bloodstream, it will produce an opposite effect to all these organ sites, right? So even though you can have a really healthy muscle, okay, a really optimized muscle, but if your sugar, if your bloodstream is filled with sugar and there's a constant influx of insulin hormone, guess what? Okay, even your healthy muscle isn't going to be able to uptake any of these things. Okay, because your muscle will then, in order to protect itself, it will switch off the insulin signal. Okay, it will try to turn it down so that it does not react and it does not get overwhelmed with the action of insulin. So eventually, despite having a good muscle, it will still backfire, right? Your muscle, fat, and liver will eventually be insulin resistant anyway. Okay, and if you don't address the issue in your bloodstream, your muscle isn't going to be able to uptake any of these things. Okay, and what is going to be worse is that all this sugar that's supposed to be uptake will then backflow. Okay, you're going to have a situation where more of this sugar and insulin gets stuck. Okay, recycles back into the bloodstream that creates even more of this chaotic situation, right? In even more upscale of sugar and insulin in your bloodstream. So this is what we do not want to happen, okay, despite having really healthy functioning liver and muscle. Okay, so what I want to say here is this, that we must target the bloodstream first. So that is a good reason why whenever we were to determine if a person is metabolically healthy, they still have to do a routine blood check, right? Because it's through your bloodstream, the doctors can know, okay, are you on the high side when it comes to sugar? Is your HbA1c levels okay? Is your fasting sugar all right? Because they are still easily accurate because it helps to give us a gauge on the health of your bloodstream. And you don't see doctors doing biopsy on your muscle, right? To see if your muscle is sugar sensitive or insulin sensitive, correct? Doctors don't do that. Why? Because first, it's less invasive, and secondly, blood tells us a story of your current health state, right? So I want to be very clear on this, that we cannot neglect the health of our bloodstream. Okay, whatever that is in our blood, okay, the healthy glucose level, the healthy insulin level has to be the bottom line. Okay, then that's where if you have a good muscle, then you'll be able to uptake this even better. Right, and I want to emphasize that it's not all about percentages, because sometimes because of this quantitative figure, people have the wrong impression, thinking that it's all about the numbers, right? But like I said, even though fat is the smallest percentage, it's only 5 to 10%. Okay, but its effect systemically to our body is enormous, right? When your fat percentage increase, you're going to have increased triglyceride in your blood, increased cholesterol. Okay, that's going to affect other parts of your body. That's going to excrete a lot of inflammatory cytokines, cascade all kinds of undesirable reactions into your body. It's going to cause all kinds of haywire, right? So I don't have time to go into this in detail. Okay, I'll be talking about this in the next 2 weeks, but you get what I'm saying, right? That every single organs have its important role, and this only describes the percentage in which it takes sugar, but it does not determine how important it is, or it's a gauge for us to know that, hey, muscle is more important than fat. In fact, it's more important than liver. No? All right, just to make this clear. So there are 3 main priorities that we have to ensure that we fulfill in order for us to have a complete understanding about metabolic health. So number 1, we have to ensure that we need to have a healthy baseline of sugar and insulin levels. And number 2, you need to have a healthy fat percentage. Okay, this is so much more than just weight loss and how you look in the mirror and the 6 packs. Okay, because fat percentage, in fact, is one of the main determinators when it comes to determining a person's health span, lifespan, right? And it does so much metabolically to our body. So we have to make sure that you cannot be healthy if you have a good blood and a high fat percentage. Okay, there's no way. Right, so these 2 are main one. Then, of course, muscle mass can come into the picture as well. It will help to enhance the number 1 and number 2. And if you have number 3, your number 1 and number 2 will be even better. So in order for us to look at this collectively, we have to manage these 3 indicators. Okay, so this is where phosphate comes into the picture. Right? It helps us to manage the most important foundation when it comes to managing metabolic health. So Uni Multi-Lemon and balance help to achieve these 2 key points, which is managing a healthy insulin and sugar level, and also manage a healthy fat percentage. So this is something that Stronghold cannot do. Our Stronghold's focus is very much and very targeted on muscle health. So you still need to feel great. In fact, if you are just starting on this journey, this should be the very first thing that you are starting on, right? And with that, okay, it determines your metabolic environment in which we were to manage this. Okay, so why we choose both of these products? So everything in Feel Great, it's not chosen on random. Okay, it's been studied thoroughly, and Balance is one of our longest products in the market. Of course, it was not called Balance in the very beginning. Okay, it's I don't even remember what's the name. Okay, it's like what, Bios, Life, 2, 3. Okay, and then in these 20 years, it evolved to be like, Balance. Okay, which is the amalgamation of all the evolution of this fiber blend. All right, so we don't use random fibers. It's 7 different fiber types. Of course, people will ask me, right, Claudia, don't you know that there's many other herbs can also help to manage sugar? Have you heard of berberine? Have you heard of bitter gourd? Have you heard of garlic? Have you heard of this or that herb? All right, so why is it Unicity we are not using any of these herbs, and why you want to still use fiber? So we get that a lot. Okay, the reason why we're using this is because fiber has the strongest straight record. Okay, one of the most substantial, and we have one of the most studies when it comes to looking into carbohydrate, sugar, and cholesterol management. Okay, it's one of the longest standing, it's the safest as well, that has barely any side effect. Okay, and ours is not like I said, not just any random like psyllium husk. Okay, there's 7 different types that creates this patented viscous fiber that help us to manage both of these very effectively. All right, so this is the graph image that shows how it works. So after a meal, this is where we have food. So after it goes into our stomach, it then be released as sugar, correct? So if we eat something, immediately it's gonna trigger your pancreas. So your pancreas is gonna release insulin. I'm sure you all know that. So if we don't have any form of like protection or any buffer in this bloodstream, 100% of it is going to be absorbed like ASAP, right? Because there's no buffer, no nothing. So this is where your sugar spike is going to happen. So this is where fiber can do something that other supplements may not be able to achieve that well. It's because it gives this immediate barrier, an immediate buffer that is able to absorb whatever sugar that you have in your blood, like ASAP. Okay, so here it's able to uptake whatever excess in here, and what it does is that it helps to control, right, the release of sugar very gradually. So because these sugar are trapped in this fiber matrix, so what is going to come out from this fiber is going to be a lot less sugar coming out. So it holds on to it, it has gradual release of sugar. And because the release of sugar is so gradual in your bloodstream, automatically it's also going to trigger your pancreas to reduce the production of insulin. Okay, so rather like just now, immediately, there's like 4 insulin molecules coming out. Okay, because of how gradual it is, you are reducing that maybe up to half. Okay, so this is how important balance is to us, especially during mealtime. That's able, just by taking 1 sachet, is able to reduce your total blood sugar by 28% and reduce your total insulin spike up to 27%. And we're talking about natural food here, no drugs, no medication. And for natural food to give us this kind of result is pretty impressive. All right. So this is what we see in graphic terms. So this is how it looks like in graph form. Sorry. Okay, another meaning of graphic. I think you know what I mean. So in this graph, experimentally, you can see that before meal is a lot higher. Sugar is a lot more on the higher side. But once we take balance after meal or even during meal or before meal, okay, you can already see a big decline in your sugar, and that's going to save you a lot of excess insulin being circulating around your blood. So balance is something that you cannot miss in your diet. In fact, if you are eating a big meal, you need to have this in your regime. Okay, so balance reduces blood sugar post-meal, reduces sugar spike, and more importantly, it reduces the overall insulin effect. Okay. So I'm sure those who have attended my talk before, you must have heard about GLP-1. In fact, it's been talked about a lot, and it's one of our main highlights about what Feel Great can do, really. And I think sometimes people find it very difficult to explain this to another person because this whole term sounds so sciencey, and we just don't really know. Okay, how am I going to tell this to a layman, like a auntie or what? Okay, you may never understand. Okay, the greatness about this hormone, right? This is a visual representation about how it works in our body. So typically, GLP-1 is produced in our gut, right? There's this L cell that's in our gut that produces GLP-1. So naturally, when you eat a food or something, okay, it's going to release sugar molecules, right? Like I've said. So with the release of this sugar molecule, of course, there's going to be insulin. So what GLP-1 does is that, okay, once it senses that there's food, then it will release GLP-1. So this is where it gets really interesting. This GLP-1 would then go to the respective organ site, your fat, your liver, and muscle. And what it does is that rather than the earlier scenario where where your muscle just blind itself to the action of insulin, it makes these organs more sensitive to the presence of insulin. It means that your body is able to better respond. It can identify insulin fast. So it's like, oh, it's there. So once it sends this signal to your respective organs, then your body is able to take in the sugar ASAP. Okay, so this is where, it solves the whole cycle of insulin resistance where there's a backflow, right? So not just only your organs are able to utilize this sugar fast, you see what happens in your bloodstream. Okay, it's a lot more empty. You don't see that much sugar floating in your blood, and the insulin has also decreased. So now you know, okay, for those who read all kinds of articles about GLP-1, that is the reason why one of the benefits of GLP-1 is to increase insulin sensitivity in your body, right? So if I just tell you like that one sentence, you don't understand me. But if you see this illustration, you can see very clearly. Once GLP-1 makes your body more sensitive, it uptakes insulin faster, it utilizes the sugar better, and overall, it cuts down, okay, whatever excess sugar in your body. So this is the reason why GLP-1 is so effective. Okay, there is a reason why the medical world is taking this hormone by storm, right? It's not stopping anytime soon, because this is how powerful the action of GLP-1 is, right? So people would think, okay, I mean, since my gut can produce GLP-1, so why don't I just rely on my body, right? Why do I have to take something that, all this effort just to produce GLP-1, right? So there's two good reasons why. Number one, typically we don't produce enough. On average, we don't produce that much of GLP-1 compared to drug. Okay, in fact, most people don't really have enough of it. And even if you do have enough, unfortunately, they don't last very long. They only last about 1 to 2 minutes. So what's the point? Okay, and that 1 to 2 minutes, you can absorb everything. Then after that, it's gone, right? And so this is the struggle that people are facing. And scientists are beginning to realize that this whole thing about diabetes is not just about, high sugar and high insulin, right? Because that's only one part of the story. But they see and they look at, patients, they realize that these people have a very low baseline of GLP-1. Individuals that are diabetic, a lot of them have low GLP-1 levels. And that is the reason they may have a risk factor of getting diabetes. Right? Okay? So now this is not just something we are throwing about, okay, because this is really the real thing. And we're seeing people on GLP-1, agonists are seeing, great results for a reason. So, of course, drugs always have the difference between food and drug, right? Because number one, it is scaled to a much higher dose than a normal person would. We're talking about 10 to 11 times more. And it lasts for like 5 to 10 days. And typically it's only 2 minutes. So you can imagine, okay, no doubt it's going to be turbo, it's going to be super. You will definitely see like drastic weight loss and great sugar and insulin management. But this is where it can potentially backfire as well, okay, because it's like ridiculously high amount. And although there are people who reported good results, and in fact, the drug companies are not stopping, but there can be a dark side to GLP-1 medicine as well, right? Because GLP-1 is a very big sensor to shut down your appetite sensors in your brain. So there are people who have reported all kinds of disorders. They come to a point that they realize that they just have no interest towards food, they lost a lot of weight, and some even have stomach paralysis that is not moving anymore. So, and you can permanently lose muscle mass, okay, and you can't gain it back with excessive GLP-1. So these are some of the hidden dark side of GLP-1 medicine, right? So this is not what we're here for today, right? We are not here to take medicine, right? We're here to find a safe and effective solution that can help to boost that natural production in our body. Okay, so this is where, and this is why, okay, Dr. Benjamin Bigman is so insistent on talking about this all the time, because it's just so great. Because in terms of natural food sources, there isn't many that can give an elevated GLP-1 level like how, yerba mate can. So for us, we are so astonished, okay, with the results that we're seeing, because by just taking Unimate compared to a control group, you can already see such a huge difference by just drinking Unimate, right? Control group, GLP-1 is on baseline, but by taking yerba mate can increase up to 2 times of that effect. So that's how it can, imagine the tremendous benefit that it can bring towards your body and how it regulates your appetite sensor as well. Okay, so of course these are more shorter term results, but we also want to look into how it can affect for a longer period of time. What are the more longer standing benefits that it can happen for a person who eats it, for example, like maybe 3 months, 6 months, or a year. Right, so this is some of the results that they have found. Okay, that by taking yerba mate consistently, it can change even the genetic expression in your body to be more favorable towards producing more of this GLP-1. Right, that is able to significantly increase the genetic expression in your body. That your body is just like more keen to producing more. All right, and not only that, we found that even the circulating hormones that is in our bloodstream have also a higher amount of GLP-1 levels. So we're not talking about just short-term gain, by taking these GLP-1 and go home, but we're measuring with more long-standing results, and not just only it can increase the genetic expression, but even the overall circulating GLP-1 levels in our body. Right, so I think that for natural food, and you don't have to spend like $1,000 over for one pen. Okay, we're talking very reasonable and able to give us that sustainable effect for a long run. Okay, so by taking this, okay, if you put everything into perspective, okay, by taking Unimate, you can accelerate this process a lot more. Because if we were to just rely on our normal body's production of GLP-1, it's going to be very little. So by taking this, you are imagining like double of the effect. And because of this, everything is going to happen a lot faster in your body, right? Increased GLP-1 levels can help cells to respond to insulin better. It helps to shuttle sugar into surrounding cells more effectively. It regulates healthy sugar and insulin levels in your bloodstream. And most importantly, it helps to maintain a healthy metabolic environment in your bloodstream, which is what we have all been talking about just now, right? About how critical and important it is to make it as healthy as possible. So once you have this GLP-1, it is honestly the metabolic hack, okay, that your body truly needs. So, okay, follow me on this. This is just one sachet of Unimate. But imagine if you take 2. Okay, so that's a good reason why the US team is going for the 2 Unimate and 1 balanced configuration. So I was able to have a talk with scientists, and she said, and I did tell her about our local sentiments, right? But how we are, of course, a more high carbohydrate diet, and how would that differ with having 2 Unimate. So she said that the benefit of GLP-1 through covered Unimate will outweigh the effects of balance, of just having that, 1 Unimate and 2 balancing. Okay, and as she explains that even though you don't get the dip in the post meal with another additional balance, but she said because of how it's able to increase the GLP-1 levels in our body, it can potentially outweigh that. Okay, so that's why she said that even with this, you can also see, if not even better results with 2 Unimate. So according to her, that this is why they are, on to this program. Okay, Dr. Benjamin Beeman also and personally endorsed this way of eating as well. Okay, so if 2, you can imagine double the impact. Okay, double the effect in your body and more efficient regulation of sugar insulin in your blood. Okay, so of course I understand that there's a lot of public sentiments here. We are so used to taking our normal, and of course, eventually, we will follow whatever US is going to do, and they have a good reason for following that. So if you can go with the 2 Unimate configuration, go for it, right? But if you can't, you can always just go back to our standard configuration, which is the 1 Unimate and 2 balance, right? Okay, so Unimate has many other benefits. Okay, of course, GLP-1 is just one of that main thing. So there are many other benefits such as mental clarity, focus, increased metabolism, target fat loss. So I want to talk about this more, right? I know that in our talk previously is very much on the surface about losing weight, but we haven't really looked into how it really affects the body, So I'll talk about this in our next session. Okay, appetite control, it activate longevity signals like MPK and many more. Right, so these are to be explored on other weeks. Okay, because I don't have time to talk about everything today. All right, so that is why figure is essential. That we cannot. Nothing can replace this, honestly. Okay, two unit market, one balance still establish the most important foundation first when it comes to managing the baseline of metabolic health. Okay, so then after this, people will sure think, well, okay lah, so if figure is so important, right? So does muscle health still have a role to play? All right, so I want to emphasize, okay, clearly it still is. All right, percentages are percentages, but they still tell us something, right? That muscle still taking about 70 to 80% of your total sugar post meal, right? So we should not ignore the capacity, because muscle is still one of the largest organ in the body. So if you can, you want to capitalize it. So because if you make your muscle healthy, it's going to boost both of those effects that I talk about even more, right? And in fact, if our muscle were to shrink, it's going to be a big problem, right? And this is what is happening to most people. Okay, especially if you're on intermittent fasting and you don't eat much, okay, and if you don't go and exercise, okay, muscle have to go and exercise, by the way. So if you don't do what is necessary to activate it, our muscle will shrink over time, all right? And it could be as early as in your 30s, trust me. So we want to prevent muscle loss as well. This is another thing that we want to emphasize, okay, because sugar and insulin regulation will also be affected if our muscle were to shrink. So we want to do something that can help us to prevent that from happening. So that is the reason why Stronghold is created. And this is Dr. Benjamin's vision, okay, to have this product to complement Feel Great. Okay, and everything that's inside is not coincidental, it's not a random pick thing, okay, it's been strategically selected, designed, incorporated, tested to give one of the strongest effect towards muscle building. Right, it's able to command strongest muscle building signal. Right, this is what we want, right? What's the point of commanding the other less important signal, but not the strongest one? Right, so this is why you need, a really strategic and synergistic blend that can help to create this effect. And not just only it promotes the strongest muscle building signal, it also prevents muscle loss. So there's no point, okay, if you build the muscle big, then it shrinks again, then you go, again. So we want to make sure that we cut that catabolic signal in our muscle cell, right? So to bring everything together and to establish a good foundation, this is why we need both, okay? We need the Feel Great to help us to achieve good blood stream, okay, a good metabolic bloodstream and manage fat percentage. And we need the Stronghold to help to keep our muscle in a good and supple state. Right, and if we can have both, I cannot even try this. Okay, how I wish I had this in Malaysia right now, and I can't wait to experience this myself, right? Because I'm very eager to see what kind of result I can have. So honestly, all right. Okay, so before we end, very quickly, I want to re-emphasize again the difference between LC Vanilla and Stronghold, because we get this question a lot, and people tend to do a lot of replacement around, right? And they may think that, okay, I have this, I don't need that, I don't need this already, okay? So just to tell you, both has a very strategic and important function, and they are not the same with one another. So our muscle, no doubt we need the signal, but our muscle needs the food as well, okay? You need the right source of nutrition to be fed so it's able to grow, right? So just like our body, okay, if for example, we can give all kinds of signal, but if there's no food coming in, we're gonna starve to death, right? So the same thing that happened to our muscle, that it needs the nutrients, and protein is the main source that helps to form the building block in your body. So what Stronghold does, it will tell your muscle what to do with that food source. Okay, so if you have a good quality protein like LC Vanilla, Stronghold is gonna tell your body, hey, okay, there's good protein coming, let's do our fat burning, let's do our muscle building, and let's do this ASAP. Okay, so if you have both together, it's going to give you the effect that you want, right? There's no point taking Stronghold when you don't have good protein intake, Okay, so if you're not taking good quality protein, then it cannot really give you the results that you want also. Okay, so ideally, okay, if you don't have enough, if you're not hitting your protein intake on a normal basis, okay, and you're not really eating much of that, then you should be taking LC, vanilla, and stronghold. Okay, if not, make sure you're taking enough protein in your day-to-day so that you're not lacking that protein source to be shuttled into your muscle, right? Okay, so putting everything together, just a quick summary about what we have talked about and how to eat it. So you take stronghold once a day during your eating window. Okay, that's once a day lah. Okay, and it's recommended to take with food. Okay, because that's where protein synthesis happens. So we try to couple it with balance of past life S. You can take them together, but just don't take it with Unimate, okay, because they may have interactions. All right, so it's best to take this with meal and with your BIOS Life S. So if you are someone who is going to take LC vanilla, all right, or if you're somebody who is athletic, you go to the gym, you're focused into recovery, then this is where it's advantageous if you can mix this together with your protein shake. So LC vanilla and stronghold, if you were to mix it together, it can give you an even better synergistic effect in terms of your performance. You can take in more reps, you can go further, and also replenish that amino acid back into your muscle cell. All right, so that's it for my presentation today. Trying to make things concise so we don't go over time. All right, so okay, I know you're all waiting for the last part, okay, but then bear with me for a while because we can have few questions. All right, is there any Q&A during this time? Okay, so yep, question time. Can I take stronghold before lunch instead of before dinner? You see, okay, that's the thing, it keeps coming up, right? Okay, so I have to stop here first. Before lunch instead of before dinner, yeah, why not? There's no problem really. If you take stronghold before lunch or instead of before dinner, I would say that there really wouldn't be any problem. It's depending on you. So which is going to be a bigger meal? Yeah, I have no opinion on that. So it's really up to you, honestly, okay? Which is more convenient? All right, so is taking 2 stronghold better for GLP-1 compared with 1? I think definitely it would have a beneficial effect, taking 2. Of course, taking 2, we're talking about even more like muscle building benefits, it commands your tone better. And then strangely also it helps to increase GLP-1, it does stimulate your gut to a certain degree. So taking 2 stronghold definitely will give you that edge when it comes to boosting your GLP-1 levels. I'm sure Unimate also, if you take with this, it's going to be superb. All right. Okay, when is the best time to take stronghold? Pre, post, or during workout? Okay, I would say that stronghold. Okay, I would say what is your focus really? Right? If you're talking about recovery is your focus, right? And I need to know, are you taking only stronghold? Are you taking other protein supplements? Because stronghold itself may not be sufficient to fully, we're talking about performance and recovery. Okay, because we need enough. Okay, so stronghold gives the edge for exercise because it's creatinine, right? So once you have creatinine, you're able to increase more reps. You can take more reps. You can do more explosive workout, like lift heavier and stuff like that. And it can also be used as recovery lah. So if you want to take 2 in a day, that's possible. But if you're talking about just choosing 1, and if you prioritize your performance, make sure you have another thing for your recovery. So you must take 1 stronghold, and if you can take another stronghold after that, but if you can't, at least a protein supplement. So if you're taking a protein shake, you can take that after, right? So that can help your recovery. So I would say that if performance is the thing that you are more, if you're gonna take heavy weights, right? Weightlifting and all that, then probably you take before. But make sure you have something after recovery as well. So if you can take another stronghold, it's better. If not, at least a protein shake. I think that's important. All right. Yeah, Michelle Saw have a question. How to take 2 Unimate 1 bus? I see. You just take the first Unimate in the morning. So then how the US teaches to take is that you can take the second one before your meal. or even after also can. Actually, they give a guide on how to take. So there's no strict rules on this. You can even take 2 in the morning, one shot. So it's really depending on individual response. So I would say that 1 in the morning and the other one maybe before your meal time. Then after that, you just take your balance at night, right? So do be aware that the caffeine can be a bit strong. So you have to adjust to see how that is going to work for you, right? Okay, so the strong work, even for those who don't exercise, yes, it can. Yeah, it can, because I think the study that we did was not on those who exercise actually. So for those who are on just on normal like sedentary, which is like most of us working adults, it does help actually to command muscle building as well, and and most importantly, it prevents muscle shrinkage, right? It's able to do that. So to answer your question, yes, it can even benefit those who don't exercise. All right, can I take 2 balance at a time? For what reason should one take 2 balance at a time? Of course, you can take 2 balance at a time. What reason? If you're taking a lot of carbs, okay, and if you feel like you're having gastric problem, or you want to maybe calm down your stomach a little bit, then probably that can be something to help you. But yeah, definitely, if you really feel like you are going to take a lot of dessert and all that, then definitely you can take 2 balance at a time. If sugar is really something that you want to control, then that could definitely be something that you want to consider. Okay, how long after you eat mate can one take stronghold? Actually, Dr. Benjamin didn't say a definite time frame, but he said to get this meal. So you take, so like in early morning, you need mate. So as long as you get for 3-4 hours, that is able to, fully process in your body, then sufficient time for it to be digested. I think 3-4 hours is sufficient. Then you next meal. So then you will not have any interactions, okay? Yeah, I'm taking ginger shot every morning together with you. Yeah, can. If your body, if you can handle the 15 ml ginger shot, it's quite a lot. Not really, it's about a tablespoon and then no problem. Why not? Okay. Okay, someone raised a hand just now, right? Okay. All right. So okay, I don't mind answering your questions actually, but the best part is behind. Okay, I'm sure a lot of people coming back to witness the lucky draw, right? Okay, so just to emphasize the next training, I'm going to talk more about the interactions with muscle, fat, sugar, and insulin. Okay, so it's going to be quite exciting as well. I'm going to expand more about how fat is going to influence everything. So make sure you attend this session 2 weeks from now. Okay, so there are some questions here that will continue right off the hype of that live stream. Okay. Okay, I have 2 questions. I hear a lot about the idea of creatine loading, okay, which is claimed to assist many rejuvenative functions. Is this also the case for stronghold? Can we say take stronghold, 2 sachets of stronghold at a go? Yeah, you can. All right. In fact, I think Dr. Benjamin Bieber also say you can take like 5 sachets a day, that kind of thing. I mean, according to him, he said like this stronghold, the creatine amount isn't that much actually. If you're talking about like extreme sports, the creatine can go up to like many times more than the safety limit. So ours is like really in the safe limit in terms of the creatine. They say you can even take like 5 a day, that kind of thing. Right? So depending on how adventurous you are on this, maybe you're on your own low diet movement, right? Then maybe you can try this. Let us know how much younger you will be. All right, so this one is just a clarification for me to understand the concept better. So better build muscle starve glucose from fat cell. Can I say that a bit? This one is just a clarification for me to understand the concept. Better build muscle starves glucose from fat cells. I think what you're trying to say is that if you have more hungry muscle, right, that's able to uptake more sugar. So to a certain degree, that's correct. Okay, that is able to uptake more of this sugar from your bloodstream. But I'm not too sure if our muscle can take glucose from fat cells. Okay, I'm not too sure about that. But in terms of clearing your sugar load in your bloodstream, that's certain. So if you have like, that's why they say to starve your muscle is stuff like doing exercise, right? If you stimulate and do some movement, then you can potentially create a bit of starving mode there. Or during fasting state, that's when your muscle are also more starved. So that's where when you take anything like stronghold, during your meal time, you can respond really well as well. Okay. What is the backside of effect Unimatter and stronghold combined? So Dr. Benjamin said that the chlorogenic acid would react with, I think it's the whole thing with the formula itself, that it will reduce the efficacy of stronghold, that there's actually reaction. It's actually chlorogenic acid and the combination of stronghold. So he did mention that. So he said best, and anyway, Unimatter is to take during fasting. Right? And stronghold does an entirely different thing, because stronghold, it promotes muscle building, and muscle building is always during fat state. So, I mean, from formulation's perspective is one thing, but secondly, due to how we want to activate different state, fasted and fat state, that will be optimal as well. So, yeah, there'll be two reasons, but mainly it's the chlorogenic acid. Okay, right. So, seems like we're done with today's session. So thank you so much for attending today, and for also, joining in the excitement to get your exclusive US products. So it's okay if this time you don't get it. Hopefully there's another time, right? And yeah, let's all be jealous of those who have. All right. So next training is on the 21st of October. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure why are there people raising hands. Okay, is there a question you want to ask, or something you want to say? Okay, so I'm not very sure. If there's something you want to say, or if there's a question, you can raise here. Okay, but it's also about time already. It's 8:49. So make sure you stay tuned to 21st, and if you have any questions, you can always bring up the next session. Okay, thank you everybody for being so sporting, and it's wonderful to have a session with you today. So see you on the 21st October, and good night, everyone. Bye.